Guys, please share the video if you can. Please share. Let's see if we can get a good attendance. We're going to be talking today about the affidavits and how we're moving forward now. The affidavits. So please share this video if you can. Please share. TikTok, Facebook. Thank you guys for joining. Please share if you can this video. Please get it out. Let's see if we can get a good attendance this morning. We're going to be talking about the affidavits, right? The affidavits, how we're going to distribute them, how we're going to receive them, and how we're going to be back in Washington, D.C. by January 20th with the affidavits that are necessary to finish this and deliver this final blow to the court. So please share this video if you can. Please share so we can get good attendance. So TikTok, Facebook, we're going to be talking this morning about the affidavits, how we're going to distribute them, how we're going to receive them, and what we need to do to get back to Washington, D.C. with the evidence that we need, deliver this final blow to the court. So please, if you can, please share this video if it's possible. Please share this video. We'll get started in just one moment, guys. Just one moment here. So this morning, TikTok, Facebook, we're going to be talking about the affidavits, all right? This is all about the affidavits. We're going to talk about how we're going to distribute these affidavits, how we're going to receive these affidavits, and how we're going to get back to Washington, D.C. By January 20th to deliver this final blow to the court to finish this off, everybody. So please share if you can. Please share. Please get this video out so we can get good attendance, all right? We'll start in just one moment, okay? Just one moment, guys. So this morning, TikTok, Facebook, we're going to be talking about the affidavits, okay? The affidavits, how we're going to distribute them, how we're going to receive them, and how we're going to get back to Washington, D.C. before January 20th to deliver this final blow to the court and finish this off, you guys. We are in the tail end right now. This is it, okay? This is it. So we're going to be talking here in a moment about the affidavits, how we're going to distribute them, how we're going to collect them, and how we're going to bring them back to Washington, D.C. before January 20th, before these elected individuals get sworn in, because we have the power. We have the power to make this happen because of this election cycle. Guys, we got the power. Okay, so we'll start in just one moment, please. Please share this video if you can, please. All right, TikTok, Facebook. We're going to be talking this morning about the affidavits, okay? How we're going to distribute them, how we're going to collect them, and how we're going to bring all of them back to Washington, D.C. before January 20th so we can deliver this final blow to the court, okay? This is it, you guys. We are in the final tail end of this right now, and we're going to get this done, okay? So let's go ahead and start talking about this. Okay, so here's the issue. Very, very simple issue. The Constitution of the United States is the overarching requirements of the country. Every single state must comply with the supreme law of the land, right? So when the Constitution of the United States sets forth certain requirements, right, certain obligations of public officials, those public officials do not have the authority to be able to breach the obligation and act in a manner contrary to what the Constitution of the United States demands, even if a state constitution or state law directs them to do otherwise. Because obviously that would mean that the state laws are superior, supreme to the United States Constitution. We know that's not the case. So Clause 1 of Amendment 5 to the United States Constitution says, no person shall be held to answer for a capital or otherwise infamous crime unless on presentment or indictment of a grand jury. That's the grand jury clause. We all can agree that the Fifth Amendment is part of the Constitution. I don't think anybody is arguing that one. It was ratified and adopted by the people of the United States on December 15th, 1791 as part of the Constitution in all intents and purposes in accordance with the special amending procedure of Article 5. Therefore, it is part of the Constitution. And when it says that you must have an indictment by a grand jury before arresting someone and holding them over for a capital or an infamous crime, then that means that's the requirement. That's the obligation. That's what government must do. And if they don't do it, then that means that they're acting contrary to the Constitution, which would mean their actions are unconstitutional. That would mean that everything they produce is unconstitutional, because there is a maxim of law that says that any act unconstitutional at the beginning cannot become constitutional over time or by subsequent legislation. So if your actions government is unconstitutional at the beginning, it cannot become constitutional at the end. If you breach the constitutional obligation during the arrest, then nothing that you do is valid. Nothing. Okay? So now we've got 70 million people across America today that have had this particular issue happen to them where the government has acted unconstitutionally in the adjudication of crimes. That's not all right. We're done. We're going to fix this. I need 500,000 criminal affidavits between now and January 20th to get back to Washington, D.C. Okay? So this is how we're going to do this. Okay? So when the Constitution of the United States of America says no person shall be held to answer for a capital or otherwise infamous crime unless on presentment or indictment of a grand jury, that's the law. Supreme law of the land. Every state must follow that at a minimum, okay? Now, When Washington State's Constitution, and remember, Washington State is the primary respondent in our litigation. We now have 33 states that are enjoined, but Washington State is the only state we have to overcome. We don't have to beat them. I don't have to beat Oklahoma. I don't have to beat New York. I don't have to beat, Colorado. All I have to do is beat the state of Washington. And if I do, then by that win, by that decision, we will flow this out to all of the states, all of them. Definitely the 33 that we've already served, but all of them will be subject to this particular issue. Now, Constitution of the United States says you cannot hold someone over for a capital or infamous crime unless you have an indictment by a grand jury. Washington State's Constitution, Article 1, Section 26 says no grand jury shall be drawn or summoned in any county. That means that the state of Washington has a provision in its inferior constitution that functions directly to the contrary of the United States Constitution. Now we got a supremacy issue. Whose law is going to be supreme? I guarantee you it's going to be the Constitution for the United States of America. That's what we got to win. That's the only thing we have to win, nothing more. So if we can beat Washington State and show that their provision in their Constitution functions directly to the contrary of the United States Constitution, and I don't think that there's a single American that would agree that when the Constitution of the United States says you must have an indictment by a grand jury and Washington State says we're not going to conduct a grand jury, I don't think that any American would agree that that's not in conflict with the Constitution for the United States of America. And as a result, every single time that they make an arrest without an indictment by a grand jury first being in place, then that means that arrest is unconstitutional, which means that everything deriving from that arrest must also be unconstitutional, you guys. Very, very simple. This affects millions and millions of you. Every single person in prison, almost 1.7 million of the 2.7 million of the 2.9 million people. This directly affects you guys, right? So this is a big deal. Never in the history of the state of Washington have they ever convicted a person legally and lawfully consistent with the procedures and processes established and codified in the Constitution of the United States of America. That's a pretty big deal, right? But it's not just Washington. It's also the state of Connecticut. It's also the state of Pennsylvania. It's also the state of Michigan. It's also the state of Oklahoma. These are states that are acting in direct, willful defiance of the Constitution for the United States of America, and that's a pretty big problem, okay? So here's the deal. Again, all I have to do is overcome the state of Washington. All I have to do is beat them, and by beating them, we will then have action to all the other states. Because I've already served these 33 states on behalf of affected litigants in the same procedural situation throughout this country. I did that between May and September. Remember, you guys, I served the Attorney General, which is the highest judicial officer, between May and June, and then I served the Supreme Court, which is the highest judicial officer in those 33 states between July and September. So we have served the highest executive and the highest judicial officer in 33 states. That's 2/3 of the states, okay? So they've already been notified. They've already been informed. They've already had sufficient time to be able to take action to correct the unlawful acts of their agents, and they've chosen not to. And as a result, according to laws of criminal conspiracy, any person who, having knowledge of any of the wrongs conspired to be done and who have the power to prevent or aid in the prevention of the commission of the same, neglects or refuses to do so, may be joined as defendants in the action. By their inaction now, we can now call the Attorney General as party to the cause, as defendant to this cause of the criminal conspiracy that exists. And when we do that, then, because notice to agent is notice to principal, but notice to principal is notice to agent, we have automatically recused every single executive and every single judicial officer in 2/3 of the states across the country. Not one of them can oversee the disposition of this dispute, and not one of them can represent the people, because they are all opposing party to this issue right now. Every single bar member is now a party to this, because the Attorney General is the general of all the attorneys. So when the Attorney General in the state fails to take action as lawfully required to protect and defend the laws of the United States, then by his inaction, every bar member is now opposing party. None of them can represent the people. None of them can act in a lawful manner to be able to overcome this, unless they want to stand in opposition of the criminal conspiracy that exists, take some affirmative action that must be noted, must be seen. We must see their affirmative action to mitigate their culpability in the criminal conspiracy. And if they don't want to do that, then they are all party to this cause. Okay, this is a very, very big deal. So we've got millions of people now. Affidavits. So here's, once again, the issue. The issue is that the United States Constitution is the supreme law of the land. What it says every state must do. Anytime the state enacts its own alternative legislation, substitutes it for the provisions and guarantees of the Constitution, that would make that law unconstitutional. When the state does do that and create a law that's contrary to the Constitution and then directs its agents to enforce or follow that inferior law that deprives a person of right guaranteed by the Constitution, that is a crime. It's called deprivation of rights under color of law. Title 18, subsection 242, which states any person who, under the color of any state statute, ordinance, custom, or regulation, deprives any person of your rights secured by the Constitution commits that crime. By that crime alone, it automatically negates any action of the state from that moment forward. So if the government commits a criminal act in the adjudication of a crime by arresting someone without lawful authority to perform that arrest, then that arrest is unconstitutional, it is illegal, and as a result, everything that derives from that arrest must also be unconstitutional because it is tainted by the illegality of the way in which it was obtained. Okay? So this is a very simple issue. But we have Justice Gorsuch going around the country right now, right? You guys, I just reposted a video from him last night, so you guys can see it. You guys can go and get his book. I actually just got it. I'm going to start reading it in the morning because I want to get into his head and start to figure out some ways that we can mess with him a little bit more than we're already doing. But he identified three separate things that's going on. Okay. He said that most of the people in prison here in America are there illegally and unconstitutionally because the courts are proceeding under administrative law and not common law, okay? He went on to say that most of the children that are being stolen from their families is being done illegally and unconstitutionally because the courts are proceeding under administrative law and not common law. And then he added a third and said most of the property being deprived of the people of the United States is being done illegally and unconstitutionally because the courts are proceeding under administrative law and not common law. Mr. Gorsuch has identified the fact that these are criminal acts that are being committed, that these are void and not valid judgments, not valid robbing of children, and not valid collection of property for public use without just compensation. He's identified this. And unfortunately, he is a member of the body of men that make up this Supreme Court. So when one part of the body of men that make up the Supreme Court identifies the fact that all of their agents are acting illegally and unconstitutionally, then the entire Supreme Court has stated that their agents are acting unconstitutionally and illegally, right? We only need one to admit that this is illegal and criminal. He's put it into the book. He's gone out there and he's said this to everybody. So here's the thing, okay? He identified those three areas. We're going to hammer those three areas right there. So anybody that's been arrested, right, and charged with a crime by the United States justice system or system subjected to the jurisdiction thereof, I want an affidavit from you, right? If you have had a child stolen from you, I want an affidavit from you. If you've had property stolen from you, I want an affidavit from you because we have the Supreme Court justice, one of the members of the court that has already identified those three things are illegal and unconstitutional. We're going to hammer them on those, okay? Now, I need 500,000, 500,000 of these in person. I want to make sure that we have 500,000 of these, that we have followed the proper rules of evidentiary procedure, which means that they must go from the victim into the hands of a person that's lawfully able to act as an evidence custodian. Right? In a moment, I'm going to explain how we're going to bring in the veterans across the country to be able to assist in this, and how we're going to have a Zoom call, hopefully on Tuesday, with those individuals to get them up to speed and get them reinstated. If they feel as though their oath and their heart compels them to do it, we're going to bring them back into service. They're going to act as law enforcement to collect these affidavits on my behalf, where I'll come back, but we'll come back. We'll circle to that in just one moment. So I need 500,000 of these, 500,000, 500,000 of these personally between now and January, okay? I need to start on Monday, tomorrow, okay? Now, I said that I needed some money, some funding to be able to do this. I'm going to tell you guys right now, I'm still $1,300 short of starting tomorrow, okay? $1,300 short, but we believe that if we get that $1,300, we will have at least enough money to be able to cover the travel expenses that's necessary to do it. We won't have hotels or food or anything else covered, but we will have enough to be able to cover the travel, and that's going to be sufficient for me to be able to be comfortable to release the affidavit, knowing that I'm going to be on the road tomorrow and out to California to get this started and get back to Washington State, okay? So we need 500,000 of these. All right, we're going to release this affidavit. We're going to release it into Google Drive. We're going to release it into OneDrive. We're going to release it into a SharePoint site, and we're going to release it to a website. It's not released yet. We're not going to release this until I know that we're able to get across the country and pick them up. Now, one thing that's very, very important, you guys, do not attempt to serve these on your judge or your prosecutor. You do not want that hell coming down upon you. okay? You do not want to do this because it's just going to piss them off, okay? They're just going to retaliate against you. You don't need to. The states have already been served. What you need to do is get it to me, because what I'm doing is I'm attacking their boss. And if I can make their boss obey the law, then that will make their agents obey the law. You don't want to do this. Trust me, I've been around this country. I've done this. I've served it. They brought hell down upon me, but you know what? I'm still standing. Bring it to me. Let me stand in your place. Let me do this for you to the highest court in the land. You guys want to empower me because I can argue this. I can win this, all right? So when I bring this to the court, right, on behalf of millions of people that are affected by it, they are all co-defendant or co-litigants, right? And as co-litigants, then one person argues on behalf of the entire group, and when we win, then all persons within the same procedural situation will also be given the same judgment, okay? I've had everything stolen from me by this system, right? I allowed that to happen. I permitted that to happen. I lost my company. I lost my career. I lost millions of dollars. I allowed that to happen. Every one of you that lost property, I can argue on your behalf because it happened to me. Everyone who had your children stolen, it's been 9 years since I've spoken to or seen my children. I did that because I had to be able to do this, to be able to overcome this. I can argue on your behalf. I know exactly what you guys are going through, and I can win that argument as well. So let me argue on behalf of you and your children, okay? Because it happened to me. 9 years I've gone without my kids, and I'm done. I'm tired of it. Anybody who has been arrested and charged with a crime without having an indictment by grand jury, I can argue on your behalf because I let that happen to me. You guys, I can argue on behalf of all of you for these 3 issues because it's happened to me, okay? It's happened to me, and because I'm in that procedural situation, that means I can argue for all of the other petitioners in the procedural situation, and you guys know I can win this. I can win this in my sleep at this point in time, okay? So I need 500,000 of these criminal affidavits personally, okay? So if I can get the money that's necessary, right, the $1,300 that we're still lacking to be able to do this, then we're going to be on the road tomorrow. I'm going down into California. We're going to try to appeal to some of the Democrats there to try to get them to actually bring us into because they control the media. That's key right now is getting the media and the news support. So with the election, we can leverage some of that to be able to get some of them to actually get this onto the news, get this information out, which is going to be extremely important in getting this ball rolling. Okay, because it's going to be really slow in California, I know, because there's not a lot of people that are going to know about this, right? And therefore, we're not going to get a lot of these in person. But by the time I make it back to the Midwest, by the time I make it to East Coast, there's going to be millions of people that are going to know about this. It's going to be much bigger because we're going to be going to the major metropolitan cities, all of which have got hundreds of thousands, if not millions of people who have been charged with or convicted of a crime illegally by this system that can file an affidavit. Now, speaking of filing that affidavit, okay, well, we'll come back to the affidavit in one moment. But so 500,000 is what I need in person, okay, between now and January. That's what I'm looking at. I don't think that that's a big number, and I'm very, very comfortable with making that goal. But for those of you that won't be able to be there, okay, for those of you that won't be able to be there to actually deliver it in hand, we're going to allow you to deliver it to a veteran who has been recalled back into active service and has it on their heart to support and defend the Constitution of the United States against all enemies, foreign and domestic, which is what this Zoom call is going to be on Tuesday. I'm going to be bringing in those veterans. We're going to be activating them and asking them to come in and actually support this and act as the evidence custodian to receive the affidavits and hang on to them, maintaining the proper evidentiary procedures so that we can get this back to D.C. Now, for everybody that can't do that, we will permit these to be sent, okay? We will permit them to be sent. They're going to be sent to Oklahoma, to my partner organization, the Oklahoma Anti-Corruption Task Force out of Tulsa, Oklahoma. We will be providing that address as well. That's a physical address. We will permit you to send them, but I just want you to know that if I don't have 500,000 of these in person, then this is not going to work, okay? But if we get 500,000 in person, then we will accept as many millions of these you want to send to the Anti-Corruption Task Force for Oklahoma, and then they will drive it across to DC, meet me back in DC when we get there, and I would hope that we'll have a few million of those by the time I finish this, okay? So we're going to be releasing affidavits to those websites. There's going to be 3 versions of this affidavit, 3 versions. One is going to be for the absence of the indictment by a grand jury, okay? So that's going to be the first one. The second one is going to be for children that have been stolen or taken from you unlawfully by a judge that had no authority to take something that God gave to you and not the state, okay? And the third is going to be anyone who has had their property taken. Now, these affidavits are very, very, very specific, okay? They are not complicated, and we cannot add anything to them, okay? So what we're doing here is you guys have a story to tell, and I know you got a story to tell, right? I know that injustice has happened, and you guys deserve to tell your story, but we're not going to tell your story right now. We're going on offense. We are pointing at the crimes that they committed against you, not anything that has to do with the adjudication. So we want to identify the very first instance that they committed a crime against you. If they took your children, the moment that they committed a crime was the moment that your child was taken from you. That's it. That was the crime. That was the deprivation of rights under color of law, was the moment your child was taken. We don't need to talk about anything after that. We don't need to talk about, what the CPS said about you, the illegal things, the hearsay. We don't need to talk about that. You'll be able to talk about that later, but we want to talk about the crime that was committed against you, and the crime was the moment that they took your child without lawful authority, because that child and the relationship with that child is protected by the First Amendment of the United States Constitution. Therefore, when a state creates a law that allows their agents, the prosecutor, the judge, to deprive you of something that's guaranteed by the First Amendment of the Constitution, that is deprivation of rights under color of law. That is the crime. That's the only crime we need to talk about. Did you have a child taken from you? Yes. Awesome. That's the one we're going to talk about. So all that the affidavit is going to say is, on such and such date, this CPS person or this officer did deprive me of a right guaranteed by the Constitution of the United States of America when my child was taken from me, right? That's all that needs to be said in the first part. The second part is, on such and such date, this judge did conspire by and between this officer, this prosecutor, whoever it was that took your child. They conspired by and between each other to deprive you of a right guaranteed by the Constitution of the United States of America when they took your child from you. That's all that needs to be said. Nothing more, you guys, nothing more. Now for the affidavit issue, right? The moment that they committed the crime was the moment that they arrested you and held you over for an infamous crime without first having an indictment by a grand jury. Because the First Amendment, or the Clause 1 of Amendment 5, says no person shall be held to answer for capital or otherwise infamous crime unless on presentment or indictment of a grand jury. So in the state of Oklahoma, when they don't conduct a grand jury anymore and they just charge by way of information, that is not an indictment. Information can only be used as the charging instrument for non-infamous crimes, misdemeanors. So when they came and they arrested you without having an indictment by a grand jury and they held you over for that offense, that is the moment that crime was committed. Nothing else needs to be talked about, nothing else. So the affidavit for the indictment issue is, on such and such date, this officer did deprive me of a right guaranteed by the Constitution of the United States when I was held to answer for an infamous crime without first having an indictment by a grand jury. That's all that needs to be said. The second part is, on such and such date, this judge did conspire by and between this officer to deprive me of a right guaranteed by the Constitution was I was held to answer for an infamous crime without first having an indictment by a grand jury consistent with Clause 1 of Amendment 5. That's all that needs to be said. That creates the criminal element. That is the only thing that has to be done. So once we identify a crime that was committed by government in the pursuance of that outcome, we can render void all that, and we don't need to talk about anything else. You don't need to talk about, what they did, the evidence that they suppressed, the lies that the judge made, the lies the prosecutor. None of that matters, because the only thing that matters is they committed a crime at the very beginning, and that crime, that unconstitutional act, is sufficient to render void everything, you guys, everything. None of it's valid. So if government commits an unconstitutional act at the beginning, that is all that's necessary to overcome everything after that, okay? So then the third is property. On such and such date, this person did deprive me of property this person did deprive me of a right guaranteed by the Constitution of the United States when my property was deprived without just compensation. And that's the first part. Second part is, on such and such date, this judge did conspire by and between this person when my property was taken from me in violation of the Constitution of the United States without just compensation. That's all that needs to be said. Those are the three elements. Gorsuch is already going around the country talking about them. We've already got him admitting it, right, on the news. We've already got him admitting it in a book. We've already got him admitting that these things are true, that they are unconstitutional. So now what we're doing is we're bringing hundreds of thousands, hopefully millions of these forward, of actual victims that this has happened to. We're going to bring it to the very court who one of their members, one of their agents, has already said, oh yeah, this is true. This happens, right? And we're going to bring it to them. We're going to say, okay, do you want to hold your agents accountable? Do you want to correct their unlawful criminal treasonous acts? Or do you want to tell 330 million people across America that you are no longer going to follow the Constitution for the United States of America? I don't think that those 9 men will have the balls to say that. I don't think so, okay? I think that they're probably going to say, you know what? We don't want to piss off 330 million people and act in a treasonous manner, and they're probably going to comply, okay? And if they don't, then, well, we'll just have to leave it up to the people of the United States to decide what they want to do about a nation that's no longer United States of America, because the Constitution no longer is real and valid. And I don't really feel too strongly about that flying very well across the people of the United States, especially in the patriotic spirit that we have today right now. Okay, so again, 500,000 criminal affidavits. I need them picked up in person. We're going to use the veterans across the country to be able to act as a consolidation point for these, and then I'm going to collect them as I travel back across the country. I hope to be on the road tomorrow. I need $1,300 more to be able to make that happen. Looks like $1,300 or $1,200 more. I just got a donation. Thank you so much, you guys. You guys, I can't do this without all of you, and I appreciate everything you're doing. And I promise you, I'm a man of my word, and I will do the things I say that I will do. I will not stop. Okay, you have my word, and I'm a man of my word. Okay, so the rest of them we're going to have sent to the to our partner company in Oklahoma, our partner organization in Oklahoma, the Oklahoma Anti-Corruption Task Force. We're going to allow them to come in. I hope to have a couple million of them. We're going to be doing this by train, you guys, by train. Because that's the cheapest way. You guys don't have money. I understand. Anybody that's having their rights taken away is having them taken away because they're poor, okay? And if you guys are poor, then I can't expect you to give me something that you don't have, especially when you guys are used to these attorneys robbing you every single day of money, because that's what they do. And then they don't even produce a product. They just end up sending you off to prison anyway through a plea deal. That's not how I work, okay? Every single cent that I get is going to be used toward making this happen and getting back across the country. We're going to be traveling by train. I'm going to California first, okay? We're going to hope to get through California in 2 days. We're going to have LA, we're going to have San Francisco, we're going to have Sacramento. I have some meetings with some legislators in Sacramento, so we're going to have those three, get through that within the first 2 days, and then we're going to start having to pick it up a little bit. We're heading up to Salem to pick up the affidavits from Oregon, and then we're going to head back across country. I can hit all of these locations from the train, okay? And that's going to be the easiest thing because, one, I can sleep on the train, right? Two, I don't have to worry about drivers. Three, we don't have to worry about wear and tear on vehicles. And four, it only costs me $500 to do 10 trips on that train. That's what we're going to do, you guys. That's the easiest way to do it. So when I get to these locations, it might be nice if you guys have a vehicle. If you're able to do that, come on, pick me up, take me down to the location that we're going to have to be able to have the consolidation, pick them up, take them into my custody, this evidence, and I'm going to carry this across the country. We have a couple of portable workstations that we have, some big rolling bins that we're going to be collecting all of this information, carrying it in there, locking it up, putting it on the train, and keeping it in our possession the whole entire time, you guys. So that's key right now, is that once the victim releases this affidavit, we need to make sure that affidavit comes into possession of someone that has the authority to be able to act as an evidence custodian and to maintain the integrity of that evidence until it is delivered to the court. That's what we have to do right now. So we are going to act as federal law enforcement from this moment forward because we found that federal law enforcement today is unwilling to actually enforce the federal laws. Therefore, we are going to take upon ourselves to enforce the federal laws. And we can do that because of the oath that's taken. So let's talk about the veterans real quick here, okay? Any veteran who has what is known as an RER1 discharge can reinstate that oath. Now, an RER1 discharge means that you are fully reinstatable. It's an honorable discharge. If you have an honorable discharge, right, and you were released, then that means that you can be reinstated at any point in time by the government, by the nation. So an oath is self-executing. No one has to administer it. It's self-executing because you already took it. And if you're released, right, with an honorable discharge, then that means that you can recall yourself back into active service because at any point in time, you can be recalled. So if you have an RER1 honorable discharge, then you can reinstate that oath. And once you reinstate that oath, remember your oath, you guys, that I do solemnly swear that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States of America against all enemies, foreign and domestic. When you encounter someone domestically that's warned against the Constitution, if you have it upon your heart that you need to do something about that, you can reinstate that oath. You can recall yourself back into active service, and you can act as a federal law enforcement officer to enforce the laws of the United States, because that's what the Constitution of the United States is. You can support and defend it. We're going to ask you guys right now that if you feel as though it's on your heart to do something about this, if you feel that you need to step up and defend this country against those that are seeking to destroy it domestically, then you have the right to do so. The only thing that gives a judge the right to be able to be a judge is that oath. The only thing that gives an FBI officer the right to be an FBI officer is that oath. all of you took that same oath. All of you can recall it. If you have an honorable discharge, I'm going to ask you guys to please step up and discharge the duties of your office, fulfill the obligation that you made to people of the United States, and support and defend the Constitution of the United States against all enemies, foreign and domestic. We need your help right now. We need you to step up and do this. So there's still a number of states that I do not yet have a veteran contact within those states. I need at least one veteran in every single state that will act as the consolidation point. From there, we can identify veterans throughout the counties, but we don't have a whole lot of time here. So if you are a part of a veteran organization, if you are a part of a group, Facebook, whatever, that does veterans, then I would say get this information out there, right? Say, hey, we got something going on, something pretty big right now that we're gonna be helping our country on, and I would ask you guys to get that information out. So on Tuesday, what we're doing is we're looking at reinstating your oath. I'm going to be administering that oath back to you guys. You guys are going to accept that oath. We don't need any paperwork. We don't need nothing. You guys didn't sign any paperwork once you took that oath. You just simply lift up your hand and you say, I do take it upon my heart to do this. We're going to reinstate you. And once we do, you can enforce the laws of the United States, which means that you can collect this evidence, right, from victims that are victims of people that are undermining laws of the United States and acting in contrary to it domestically, and you can support and defend this issue. So if you're in any one of the states, if you're a veteran, if you have an honorable discharge, and you guys, please be honest about this, okay? Please be honest, because we don't want to find ourselves in any sort of trouble along the way or issues. If you do not have an honorable discharge, then we might be able to use you in other ways, but we do not want to find ourselves in any sort of sticky situation where we have someone that did not have an honorable discharge. And I'm not saying that you're not an honorable. What I'm saying is that if you have a dishonorable, you cannot be recalled back into active service. Therefore, that oath ended the moment that you were released. So it needs to be honorable, because that's the only way that you're recalled. That's the only way that oath became sustaining and perpetual. So we value your service, and we will definitely find a way to be able to continue to get you to serve and help us. But those people that are going to act as evidence custodians, it must be lawful, right? And I don't want any problems on the way. So if you do not have an honorable, please do not step up and say that you can do this, okay? We got to make sure that we're following the rules, and the rules are that anyone with an honorable discharge can recall that oath, can come back in active service, support and defend the Constitution of the United States against all enemies, foreign and domestic. All right, guys? So please don't step up and offer if you do not have it. If you're not sure, then go to your DD 214, right? And it will tell you at the top. It will tell you the discharge type, and it needs to be RER1 discharge, okay? RER1, because that's the one that's reinstatable, okay? So that's how we're going to do it. We're going to start in California. We're going to crisscross the country. We're going to stop in all the major metropolitan cities. We need a consolidation point, one single contact, one single veteran within each one of the states that will receive the consolidation. And then when I get to your state, we will be picking it up, loading it on into the lock boxes and transporting them across the country by train. There are a number of rallies that are being scheduled, and if you guys have the ability within your area, you want to set something up, you want to get me out there talking, we would be more than happy to be able to come to your area, have a discussion. If you don't want to do an actual physical rally, that's fine too. If you guys have a group of people that you think needs to hear what I have to say, you guys can set it up. I'd be more than happy to be able to speak to whoever needs to hear the things that I have to say. Okay. So, but we have some rallies. We got one in St. Louis that they're looking at. We got one in Chicago. We got one in Houston. We got one in Atlanta. Those are the ones that are already being looked at and scheduled. If you guys have some opportunity within your area, you want to schedule a rally, you want to get me there, we will come and we will speak. Just know that we have very, very little time, and we're not going to be going back across the country. Once we cross, that's it. We're not going to be returning, because we got to get to DC. We got to be there before these oaths are administered on January 20th. Okay, So again, 3 different affidavits. They're going to be released through Google Drive. They're going to be released through OneDrive. They're going to be released on a couple other sites. It's going to increase as well. Now, again, I said we need 500,000 of these. 500,000 of these we need in person. Okay, 500,000. If we don't get 500,000, then we're not going to be successful here. But I need 500,000. For those that we don't, such as I said in California, If I'm in California tomorrow and I start in California, we're not going to have good turnouts initially because there's not going to be a large knowledge base of this issue quite yet. So I don't want to lose anybody in California because there's millions of people that were affected by this. But because I'm not there and I won't be returning, we won't have the ability to be able to consolidate them once again and follow the rules of evidentiary procedures, which is why we will permit them to be sent to Oklahoma, to Tulsa, Oklahoma, to the Oklahoma Anti-Corruption Task Force, my partner organization there. They will receive them and then they will transport them to me in Washington, D.C., meet me there when we return. We're going to be doing this by train. That is pretty much a tank as far as I'm concerned. I feel very safe on it, right? I can sleep on it. I don't got to worry about places, about getting hotels all the time. I don't have to worry about driving and whether I'm going to fall asleep. We don't got to worry about traffic. We have decided that the train is the way we're going to do this, and we're going to transport all this in lock boxes from within there, and it's very, very feasible, very, very easy. We will be able to hit all the locations, but once we leave, we're not going to be returning, okay? So, another thing is, there are a lot of people that are doing copycat on this, okay? Now, I want you guys to understand that those people, and I'm going to speak directly to them right now, okay? So to all you people who think that you're going to be able to take my idea and then go and run with it and be able to accomplish it, I'm going to say to you, if you're not smart enough to come up with your own idea, don't think that you're smart enough to be able to do this yourself, okay? So you can either, one, respect me and respect my knowledge, or two, you can fail and fall flat on your face, and then you can blame me when you fail because I'm going to be successful. I came up with the idea. This is my plan. God empowered me to do it. If you think you can do it, then by all means, all you're doing is working against me because I'm the one that's going to get this done, because I'm the one that came up with the idea, not you. So all of you groups that are already out there trying to do the same thing, that have already fallen flat in your face, such as Barbara Stone, and you guys, this isn't your idea. If you can't come up with your own idea, then don't think that you're going to be able to do it yourself, okay? You can get behind me, or you could fight against me. But if you fight against me, then I already know who's behind me, and he's going to make sure that you're not successful in this. So right now, don't go anywhere else. This is where we're at. I'm already at the Supreme Court. I have the argument. I'm prepared for this argument. I'm wrapping in all three of those: the indictment, the criminal element, the children, the CPS element, and the property element. I'm wrapping all three of them into one single argument, because I can speak on behalf of others in this legal matter because I am affected directly in the same manner. So that means that I can act as your advocate, speak on your behalf, because I've been affected the same way as you have, and therefore if I can overcome the issue, then you all overcome the issue through what's called vicarious relief, because all petitioners in the same procedural situation will receive the same relief. We only need one to win. That's why the motto of the tour is one question, one action, every prisoner, all right? Because we have one question. Do states have the authority to be able to oversee a disposition in which the state itself is a party in the cause? The answer is no. States may not be both judge and party in the same cause, according to the United States Constitution, Article 3, according to the very first case that the Supreme Court of the United States ever heard, which was Chisholm versus Georgia, according to Title 28, subsection 455, according to the United States. Guys, it's all in our favor. Every single bit of this is in our favor. No man can be judged in his own cause. That's coming from the very words of our founding, of the father of our Constitution, James Madison, which is also in Federalist number 10, and also from Alexander Hamilton, who said that in all cases in which a state shall be party, the federal judicial authority of the union must extend. Two of our founding fathers, in two separate Federalist papers, wrote exactly what we're talking about here. And we have an originalist court right now. We have people that are acting, that are textualists, originalists. They're looking at the original intent of the Constitution, and the original intent is 100% in our favor. No state can be both judge and party in the same cause, and as a result, when the judge failed to recuse himself as lawfully obligated, then that means that the judge is acting without jurisdiction, according to Title 28, 455, and according to Civil Rule 60b4, anytime that a court acts without jurisdiction, what it renders is void. Completely without force or effect on the parties involved in a dispute, it is as though it never even existed, okay? So we are seeking to void a massive number of criminal judgments, a massive number of children judgments, and a massive number of instances where property was stolen for public use without just compensation. We're going to get this done, okay, you guys? We're going to get this done. So again, it looks like I'm about $1,200 short right now, $1,200 short. I'm going to trust that God's going to give us the resources we need to be on the road tomorrow on our way to LA. We've got some meetings there, and then we're heading up to San Francisco next. We're going to hit San Francisco and Sacramento on the same day. I've got a couple meetings at the Capitol there with some Democrat legislators because they're a little bit pissed off about the election outcome, and maybe I will be able to leverage their support to be able to get me on the news because they control the news. You guys, everything I'm doing is not about politics. Everything I'm doing is about you guys, making sure that you guys get the rights that you're guaranteed, that the Constitution guarantees. And I don't care who helps me. I don't care who makes that happen. I don't care. What I care about is leveraging them to be able to get what you guys need. Okay, you guys. So that's where we're at. Okay, so as soon as I have the money, right? $1,500 was the estimate that we needed. We're down to $1,200 now that I think that we're still in need of. And if we do that, then we'll be on the road tomorrow and on our way out to California, and we'll be circling the country getting these affidavits. We need 500,000 of these personally collected, and then on Tuesday, I hope to have a Zoom call. We'll get the veterans on board. So if you guys are going to be able to if you're associated with any veterans groups, reach out to those veterans groups. Let them know that this is happening, and every single one of these videos we're also posting to YouTube as well. I'm trying to do shorts, but right now I'm really limited in our data capability. We're in some locations that doesn't really have very good service. So I haven't been uploading very many videos, but all of these lives we are trying to get onto YouTube. You can go there, you can watch them, you can share them. We'll get the Zoom meeting out on that as well. And again, the intent right now is that we want enough of these to be able to bring this back to Washington, D.C. and have this be a big enough blow to actually finish this. Because when we have a member of the United States Supreme Court that comes out and says that every single one of their agents is acting illegally and unconstitutionally because they're relying upon something other than the Constitution to make a decision, then guess what? That is an admission of guilt. And because of that admission of guilt, well, we're going to bring millions of these victims across the country that are victims of actual agents of the very crimes that Mr. Gorsuch says that they're committing. We're going to bring it back to Washington, D.C. and we're just going to hammer them on it, because the moment that one agent of the Supreme Court steps up and says that their agents are acting constitutionally, every member of the Supreme Court has admitted that because one member's done it. I mean, we all know that an apology is an admission, right? And so if they step forward, they say, well, yeah, this is happening and this is illegal, then that's an admission. That's all we need. So over the next couple of weeks, getting back to Washington, D.C. by January 20th, that's the intent here, guys. So work with me here, and let's make it happen. There's 3 affidavits, you guys. 3 affidavits. One is going to be for anyone either now or previously charged with a crime by the United States justice system or systems subjected to the jurisdiction thereof, right? So anyone who's been charged with or convicted of a crime by a state justice system, that is the first group of affidavits. The second group is going to be anyone who's had a child taken from them by a state, because that would be in violation of the Constitution of the United States. And the third would be anybody that has had property taken from them for public use without just compensation, which those 3 things the Supreme Court of the United States has already admitted is illegal and unconstitutional. They did it through Justice Gorsuch, who was going around the country admitting this. He wrote it in his book. There's no denying it at this point in time. You can't have one member of the Supreme Court say, yes, all of this is criminal that all of these judges across the country are doing, and then have them say, oh no, it's not, because he's already admitted that it's criminal. One agent is all that's necessary to accept fault and liability for the criminal acts of the whole. So if one member or one agent, admits criminal acts, then all members have to admit criminal act, because that's how criminal conspiracy works. So Mr. Gorsuch, we're going to be back in D.C. here very, very soon. So I would ask that you step forward and correct this now, because what all that you have to do to mitigate your culpability in this criminal conspiracy is to notify your co-conspirators of your intent to no longer participate, and that can be done by the writ that is sitting on your desk that was submitted by Tanoa M. Downing on September 29, 2023, under the case Tanoa M. Downing versus State of Washington. You can sign that writ because it only requires one signature, and you can mitigate your culpability in this criminal conspiracy, and you can avoid the train wreck that is now coming to Washington, D.C. and is going to be there by January 20th. And it's not just you, Mr. Gorsuch. If you don't want to do the honorable thing, then maybe you do, Ms. Sotomayor. Maybe you do want to do the honorable thing and help your people overcome the oppression that your own institution is committing against your own people, right? You could step up and you could sign the writ that's sitting on your desk that was submitted by Tanawa M. Downing on September 29, 2023 under the case Tanawa M. Downing versus State of Washington. But if you don't want to do the honorable thing, Ms. Sotomayor, then maybe you do, Mr. Thomas. Maybe you want to do the honorable thing. Maybe you want to mitigate your culpability in this criminal conspiracy and avoid the train wreck that's coming your way right now and is going to be there by January 20th, because there's a writ sitting on your desk that you can sign, sir, and you could avoid being named a party in this issue right now and the train wreck that's heading your way, because that writ is sitting on your desk. It only requires one signature, sir. You can sign that writ and you can mitigate your culpability by notifying your co-conspirators of your intent to no longer participate in this criminal conspiracy. But if you don't want to, Mr. Thomas, and maybe you do, Mr. Robert, or maybe you do, Mr. Kavanaugh, maybe you do, Ms. Brown, any one of you can sign the writ sitting on your desk that was submitted on September 29, 2023 by Tanawa M. Downing under the case Tanawa M. Downing versus State of Washington. Any one of you can sign that writ and thus mitigate your culpability in the criminal conspiracy and avoid being held liable for the train wreck that's coming your way on January 20th of next year. Okay? So we're going around the country. We're going to get the evidence that we need to bring this hell down upon you, Supreme Court, for the criminal and unlawful acts that your institution has made ever since the day of its inception. All right? Thank you guys so much for following me. Thank you so much for sharing. Thank you guys so much for being on this journey with me. We're now at the tail end of it. All right? As soon as I get this money, we're going to be releasing this out to the websites. We're going to be putting it out there. You guys just continue to follow. Follow me and watch for it, because it is pending at any moment, okay? At any moment. The moment that I get the money that's necessary, the estimate that we need to be able to cover the transportation costs, then we're going to release that affidavit, and the affidavit will take you all of 5 minutes to fill out. 5 minutes tops, okay? It's very, very, very simple. Once you fill it out, there will be instructions on what to do with it. You will either be meeting me in one of the cities that I go to on the date that I arrive, or you'll be giving it to a veteran, right, who has been reinstated and recalled back in active service to act as an evidence custodian to receive it. Or 3, you're going to be putting it in the mail and sending it to our partner organization in Tulsa, Oklahoma, the Oklahoma Anti-Corruption Task Force. And either way, let's get back to D.C., let's have the numbers we need, and let's kick their fucking ass, you guys. Thank you so much. Continue to follow, and God bless all of you. Have a great Sunday, and I hope to see you guys very, very, very soon. Thank you. God bless.